YouTube, welcome in. This is how to play Eclipse 8 by someone that doesn't actually know how to play Eclipse 8. So right off the rip, the biggest thing is tempo. So what tempo is your progression as a character versus the time and the stage that you are in. And so if you get behind in pacing, you're cooked because it's going to get harder and harder for you to kill the enemies and it's going to slow you down. And so the only way to win on a Eclipse 8 is to get ahead of the curve as quickly as possible so that you're able to just crush them and make as much money as fast as possible and get as much XP to where you outpace the enemy's difficulty growth is really the key core component. And so there's a lot of different ways you can do that. One is by fully clearing each stage, which means that you get every chest and item possible, which, you know, you'll miss some naturally, but you absolutely need to be much more focused on discovery and looking in every corner than you otherwise would be. You need to maximize your item purchases and what items you pick and when. And so, for example, at that trio there earlier, I had the option between a question mark, a med kit, and fireworks, right? Fireworks only really help me when I open an item, which if you think about, you know, fighting Mithrix at the end or other major milestones, like a boss event, you know, you're not opening chests, you're not doing very much, so it's not really that good of an item. The med kit is fantastic for Eclipse 8 because you really struggle with healing. However, I already have a cleanup drone, which I like to call Princess, and so I don't need healing. And so I would much rather get a little bit more damage to help boost my killing ability to allow me to outpace the enemies. Now, something else to consider is your pacing, not only in not only in your ability to murder them all, but also in your ability to discover the map. And so if you're a very fast character, typically they have less damage. And so you're going to want to prioritize damage weapons because that's going to be the main limiter on how quickly you can progress the game. Whereas if you're a slower character like Rex or, I don't know, the fat guys, you know who I'm talking about. It's going to be more of a limiting factor in your movement speed. So that's going to change which items you prioritize depending upon your character choice. So for Bandit, I do so much damage and I'm so capable at murdering in the early game. I really don't need any damage items, any better attack items at all for the first 2 stages. Like, I can get by just by getting utility and healing and movement speed. And so for Bandit, it's all out. And look, am I gonna die here? Most likely, okay? But see, that's part of the fun, is I'm over here focusing so much more on my ability to talk to you and actually give good advice rather than give you stellar gameplay, because this is more of a tutorial rather than a showcase. If you want to see actual really good gameplay, I can give you some clips, okay? Now, with the movement speed, it's important that you don't stack the same item over and over again. So for Bandit, for example, there's the cute little prism triangle Tetris thingamabob that does more damage at close range. That bad boy seems great. I love it. But it's going to stack additively as far as I know. And so 5 of those, each one gives you a 20% damage boost when enemies are at close range. But if you have 5 of those, it's not actually a full 100% damage increase due to the way that additive math works. However, if I were to get a 20% damage boost from the triangle thingy, and then get a 20% damage boost from a watch, and then get another damage boost from, I don't know, critical strike damage from the boots or something, right? All of that is going to be a different modifying layer to where it can scale better. Certain items, however, impact total damage. And those bad boys are the ukulele. So you can see total damage. So there's base damage where you will... it's all based upon your character's level and whatever that character's set starting point is for damage for their attack. Whereas total damage gets multiplied after all other modifiers. So if I have, you know, a watch, my diamond, and some other things that increase your damage, the ukulele, when it bounces, will go crazy good because it'll multiply that final amount rather than the base amount. Other examples are the missile launcher, right? It does total damage, 300%. Another option is your Macarena. This bad boy, total damage. And another one that I really like is your crowbar, specifically for characters that have one strong attack, and you just make sure that you use this whenever possible. In my opinion, the best item in the game and my favorite is Faraday Spur, because you just don't jump. All that you do is don't jump, and your character effectively has 3 times as fast movement speed. And that changes your tempo so much when you're able to just run around the map and explore. So going back to tempo, you never want to stay around a chest if you're broke, because it's pointless. Why stay around a chest trying to kill enemies, waiting until you make enough money to open the chest? You know, there's more fish in the sea. So if you find a chest, but you don't have the money to buy it, memorize and try to remember where it is and move on and keep running. Because you need to fully clear and explore the map and get as many goodies as you can. Something else I've noticed is drones. I don't really like to buy drones early on because they will, you know, lag behind you. Enemies will spawn and they'll target the drone, and then your ability to murder said enemies goes down because they're across the map fighting this silly little drone rather than coming to you. And your drones do so little damage, they're barely going to murder anything. And so I avoid drones until before the boss or before the end of the stage, whenever I can. Now, obviously, if my character is struggling to even just stay alive, then yeah, I'll buy drones right away. Okay, perfect. The focus crystal. That's what I'm talking about, baby. And yeah, so like I'm really looking at every nook and cranny. You want to go to Mr. Newt whenever you can. Oh, and I have a lot of terms for things that are in no way accurate. You just have to accept the fact that I'm never going to learn the proper terms for things, and you're just going to have to learn my terms. Look at me. I am the captain now. Okay. Okay, so what I typically shoot for is around 10 minutes for each stage, and that is sort of my metric for my tempo. If I'm past the 10-minute mark, I better be getting some really good items or have some sort of ultimate goal for that stage that is more beneficial than the tempo change. You always want to do things to make the game more difficult. Because if the game is easy, then you're not murdering as many people. You're not making as much money. And the more money, the more XP, the more items, the more your murdering ability goes up, the more murders happen sooner, the more enemies spawn because more die, and that spiral continues to escalate. Now, with all of that being said, you also have to consider your own skill level. And so if you are really, really good with a certain character, you can be, you can be so greedy. And so, for example, with Loader, you know, I'm on Eclipse 8 with him, or her, actually. I never get movement speed items for the most part because I'm like Tarzan, baby. And Loader's the guy that, or the girl that you can just, like, grapple around the map with. You know, Attack on Titan style. And so I love Loader because I can focus entirely on damage, and I'm able to explore the whole map so quickly. It's entirely just about how quickly I can murder them. And something else about not waiting around to open chests is you allow for enemies to spawn all over the map as you're running around, and you actually won't kill all of them as you're exploring. However, you will end up running into them at some point, right? And so what do you end up doing in that situation? Well, if I were to use my left shift ability for some stealth, it has a little bit of an area of effect ability. But if I'm always using that to kill, you know, one enemy, it's going to be a little bit slower in terms of my murdering speed. Whereas by running around the map and not staying in one location, and I'm able to scout and then eventually murder them all. But they're all grouped up. So now any area of effect abilities that I have, like my dagger slash, my left shift, all of it, it's so much more effective. And I'm able to do effectively more total damage for the same amount of ability activations. Now, another thing that I like to do is maximize the game mechanics. And so one thing I like to do is activate the teleporter, because that's going to make more enemies spawn. Then I run over and activate the Goldilocks, because Goldilocks is a time thing. Realistically, it's not a money thing. You're always going to have enough money to get Goldilocks to work. And so why would I spend time here running out of money waiting for more enemies to spawn? That's silly, right? That's a waste of tempo. So by activating the teleporter, I make a bunch of enemies spawn, and I increase the spawn rate of enemies in general. Then when I'm doing Goldilocks, I'm not only making excess money, but Goldilocks itself is another event that spawns more enemies. So now you can see all of these area of effect abilities that I'm activating are so much more effective. I'm making so much more money. Yeah. And in the early game, you want to be so much more risky, so much more greedy, so much more push it to the limit, baby. Because if you die, okay, you died. Bye-bye. You lost 6 minutes of your life rather than playing very conservatively and then not scaling enough, and then you die at the 40-minute mark. Stay away from me! Oh, dodged that barely. And then you can't open chests during the teleporter event. However, you can open the Goldilocks winner. So what I like to do is activate teleporter, beat Goldilocks, get the bonus items for doing so, and then use said bonus items to defeat the boss. I thought there was a way to get up there back to Goldilocks down here, but I am mistaken. And then, right, I'm at 9 minutes right now, so I'm definitely behind on tempo. But you can see I have so much money. I'm already level 8. There's so many more enemies for me to murder. It's all gonna pay off. I think the stack is gonna be worth it. All right, let's see what we can make happen here. Nice. Chance doll in the early stages is so important. So something else is you need to have enough understanding of the items in the game to where you can make the right decision for the right item at the right time. And so in the early game, the star, the chance doll, the coin penny roll thingy are they're all so much better if you get them stage 1 or stage or lock it, or because they give you modifiers that stack more and more and more. And so the star gives you an extra item each stage when you open a chest. If you get that stage 5, you know, you're getting 1 extra item. You get it stage 1, you're effectively getting 6 extra items. If you go to the moon, you can get 7. If you're strategic with it, you make sure that you only use it to open large chests, and then all of a sudden you're getting 5 extra green items. Then if you think about the shipment receiving one, you can get some crazy good stacks there. And then the chance doll, same thing, right? It gives you so many more items, that 40% chance boost for better stuff. It's so good. Now, a lot of you are probably yelling at me, being like, Hacksar, you're not even using Bandit appropriately. You're barely activating his revolver at the right time. Yeah, I can feel that. I don't know what this item does. But I mean, you can see it's stage 1, and I'm leaving with 630 coins. And I'm level 9. And having these EXP beads are great because I will trade them in later. And so you could turn in your prayer beads early because they give you extra XP that grows that will eventually boost your stats. Never get rid of them. Never get rid of them. You only get rid of them in stage 5. No matter what. Unless there's, you know, 1 or 2 rare instances or circumstances. But the prayer beads, I mean, same thing, right? The chance doll, the star, the shipment. The prayer beads are the same thing, where the earlier on in the round you get them, the more effective the item is. And that also goes with movement speed items. So if you think about damage items, they stack so much better when you have multiple different damage items. Whereas movement speed items, while they're the same way, keep in mind, you don't actually need that extra damage if you just play well. Whereas if you're looking at movement speed, no matter what, movement speed is going to be a net positive because you, regardless of what happens with the enemies or your skill level, you are still moving around the map faster. You're still getting a flat tempo bonus, even if you don't really play better or utilize that item to its full effectiveness. And so movement speed items are always a priority, in my opinion, because they're a passive boost regardless of, like, skill level, in my opinion. So if you're someone that, like, Eclipse 8 is really going to challenge you, that is absolutely something I would keep in mind. Now, another thing, too, is you need to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. So I know that I am incredibly panicky. So I love having items that will save me when I panic. And I play so much better when I have those items because like I can play greedy. You know, I'm the greediest person you'll ever meet. And oh my gosh, let's go, baby. And so in doing so, you're just gonna boost your tempo more and more and more. And so even if stage 1 ends up being 11:30 and stage 2 ends up being, you know, at the 22-minute mark, I dip out or something. Ultimately, because my character is getting so much stronger, so much earlier, even though I'm quote-unquote behind in tempo, when I get to stage 3, if I had rushed and finished stage 1 and 2, let's just pretend I get to 3 at the 15-minute mark, well, I would have missed out on enough items, enough murdering, enough XP, enough money that then transforms into XP, that my character is not going to be nearly as strong. And then the scalability of the enemies will overcome the tempo boost that I got by rushing. And then I'm going to be slowed down and delayed. And then ultimately, rushing early on slowed me down in the late game because I'm not able to take out the elites, the big lizards, you know, the bosses as fast. And you just end up wasting time. Now, look at the syringe for my character Bandit. Pretty much useless in my opinion. It only really helps me reload my shotgun a little bit faster and also shoot my revolver faster, which neither of those really matter to me because typically I'll reload my shotgun with my revolver ability. Or, you know, I'll kill whatever's in front of me so quickly with one clip that I really don't need the faster reload. So you need to be aware of what items are... Oh, last stage, there was a thingamabob I forgot to go get. It was down in that tunnel that I thought I could get up from. Or maybe I died. So healing items are great, right? That med kit is fabulous. But you have to consider the way that your build currently is. So in the very early game, if I had nothing, I probably would have gone med kit there. However, I'm not really taking any damage because my character's stacking well enough to where I'm able to murder things quickly. It's where I don't really care about healing that much anymore, especially since I have 2 healing drones and now a cleanup drone. So for me, my form of healing is going to be just not needing it and murdering everything before it's able to even hit me. And that's going to be how I can pretty much avoid healing and stack my character. Because as of right now, if I were to get that healing item, would grabbing that medkit have done anything for me in the last 2 minutes of gameplay? Not at all. It would do literally nothing for me. And so it's all about understanding your character and how they interact with the items and what items work best for you. And so with Bandit, for example, if I see a scrapper, I'm getting rid of that syringe. If I see a scrapper, I'm getting rid of this little squid turret spawner. Yeah. And so we're at 18 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and activate the teleporter. And I'm not going to kill the boss. Because in my experience, once you kill the boss, the amount of enemies that spawn kind of goes down. And I don't like that. And so what I like to do is, once again, make the game more difficult for myself. How do I do that? Well, by not killing the boss. Getting it to its final stage and then just leaving it there. And that way, more enemies spawn, more murdering, more kills, more XP, more scalability, and I grow out of control. And then in the late game, I'm just demolishing enemies. Which once look, you're gonna hear me rant about it, and like that's the main key component of winning on Eclipse 8. And in the earlier stages, your health really doesn't matter. If I deal with the Eclipse 8 modifier and I get down to only having 20 max health, it'll be okay. Because I'm going to get it all back at the next stage. And I would... What is this? What is that? I would much rather deal with having to dodge and play well when I'm dealing with 4 units at a time, and they're these little easy guys that don't really have any crazy effects. And they're easy to see their movements and their incoming attacks and stuff. Whereas with your boy... what's it called? Honestly, I completely lost my train of thought. Sorry. I do want to give the map one more look-see. I feel as though I really haven't gotten anything. Now, I used to not buy these little turrets. However, if you ever find a drone scrapper, you can turn in the gunner turrets to the drone scrapper. And that's just essentially a free scrap or a free common item later. So I always buy them, even though for the most part they're useless. As much as I say they're useless, they actually can be pretty freaking good in the right circumstances. And so you can see how I'm at 21 minutes, so I'm a little bit behind on tempo. But if you, in my opinion, but if you look at the items that I have and the way that my character is built right now, even though arbitrarily, for normally, I'm not on stage 3 at the 21 minute mark, the only reason that metric matters is because it's just like a generic standard for when you compare your character to the difficulty of the enemies. Typically, the amount of items you have, the level you are around the 10-minute mark per stage, you're gonna be okay. But in certain circumstances, like this one, I'm strong enough as a character to where I feel confident of letting the time go up a little bit more and letting the enemies increase a little bit more to give myself the opportunity to get more goodies. So you can see here on this map particularly, a lot of times chests or items will hide under the water. So I like to do a little something like this really quickly and look. And the other thing I'll say is your characters typically will have abilities that are for combat or whatnot, but have a small modifier that boosts your character. So for example, with Bandit, my stealth ability really increases my speed, just barely. So I'm going to be endlessly activating my left shift ability to increase my movement speed, to increase my tempo. And you can probably see the theme now. And so if I'm really playing sweaty, I'll use my shift ability, run, pop my revolver shot, get my shift ability back, use it, pop my revolver, and I'll strategically leave enemies alive so that I can endlessly be in a ghost state and have faster movement speed. And there are all these small little quirks and ways that you can do that with your own favorite character or who you're playing as. Reduce skill cooldowns by 25. This is good. My green items, honestly, those prayer beads, the chance doll, and the debuff transfer is so good that this is in no way worth it. Now, reduce incoming damage while sprinting or getting more armor. This is great for my character, especially because I am a little bit of a softie. So if I was like the dude that just spawns turrets and sits under a shield, I would never pick up this item. But Bandit in general is a lot more squishy, aka weak and able to die due to low health, low armor. And so anything that increases survivability is great for Bandit. So yeah, we're at 23 minutes. Hopefully we'll be able to make enough money and move quickly enough to get back on track. But honestly, even if we're behind on time, I think we'll be okay. And so you can see, because I'm transferring debuffs, it's super important to me that I try to keep enemies grouped together when I murder them. And also, it's important that I try to focus on getting items that increase my debuffs. And so your items that you get are also going to change the items that you pick moving forward. You're constantly adapting your build to whatever items you get to create the strongest character possible.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Sorry. Started dying. Oh, God. My God. Okay. So, moving along, we have this fabulous shrine here, and I have the chance doll. Oh my God, we got a second chance doll using a chance doll. That is so funny. Chance dollception. Another thing you can consider is character-based. Which enemies are the worst for your character to combat? And so for me, those frickety-frackety cylinders that pop up and spawn dudes, even if they're not that bad against your character, if they're just bad against you and how you play and your skill level, then you should target those enemies first. So like the flying guys that splash oil and then light it on fire, their movement, for some reason, my brain just can't track it. And if too many of them spawn, I'm just like this, and I'm cooked. And so I really like to try to prioritize murdering them. Same thing with the rats. And... Oh, Nani! Jesus, he's strong. You always want to get the Soulless Amalgamator. You always want to activate the Challenge of the Mountain if you can. Always, always, always. Everything. Anything that makes the game more difficult, you're gonna do it. The only exception to that, I would say, it would be if you're having a large drone build. Specifically, the Soulless Amalgamator will kill every single one of your drones. Like, no matter how quickly you kill that thing, it activates its ability once and you're cooked. What is going on with these prayer beads and these chance dolls, dude? This is ridiculous. And with your... enemy choices, the Soulless Amalgamator, I would say stage 3 and before, even if I have a lot of drones, I would still go for it. But stage 4 and 5, I think I would skip by if I have drones, just because at that stage in the game, one green item is not worth it. It's not worth losing 5 drones and having to repurchase them all, or not even being able to repurchase them, or even just the chance of death at stage 4 isn't really worth it, unless your build is super strong. Now, let's see here. You want to be making a mental note of everything that's on the map. So as I'm running around, I saw that sticky bomb trader inner thingamabob. And I really don't care for my syringes, and I have 2 of them. So I'm making a mental note of that so that if I find a scrapper, I know to immediately... Credit card! Woo! So the credit card is another item that stacks super well the earlier you get it. And I mean, it's only stage 3. I am happy with getting it when I have. Oh yeah, but see, these dudes are the worst. I hate these dudes. And you can see, if I didn't have that cute little debuff transferer, lizard, head, tail, thorns. Oh my god. So remember what I was talking about earlier, right? My total damage. So I have the crowbar, which is boosting my base damage. And then I have the 20% to the boss. I have the 20% focus crystal, the 5% total damage with the Macarena, on top of the boomerang, which is base damage. But I mean, my base damage at this point is probably like at least 200%. So then you multiply that by a 300% damage from the missile. And it's crazy, right? At this point, I want to activate the teleporter before the 30-minute mark. Is that the scythe up there? Ooh, I think it is. So I'm gonna see if I can get lucky and scrap just a single prayer bead or a single chance doll. I might end up losing my missile, which would be really sad, but it's a risk I'm willing to take for the scythe, because the scythe is so good. Okay, that stinks. Okay. I will lose the squid thing. I don't really care about that. Boom, there we go. We lost 1 prayer bead, which is perfect. Because the prayer bead grows by gaining experience, storing 20%. And so by turning in one of those prayer beads, I just reset and lost that full stack of whatever it was. And now I'm going to be able to store XP again and trade it in again later. Whereas if I had turned these prayer beads into a scrapper, it would have taken all 3. So that's another instance where you can try to finesse the system a little bit in order to get bonuses from things, and at the same time mitigate the additive effect of things rather than multiplicative things. So like having 2 chance dolls isn't really that much better than just having 1, right? An extra 10% stack, who cares? So if I lose my second chance doll, it's essentially like I lost a quarter of my chance doll, or I guess a fifth if you consider it at 50. Whereas if I were to lose, you know, 1 noxious thorn, that's such a hurt to my build. Same thing with losing my missile. But remember, I had 2 chance dolls and 3 prayer beads. So when I thought about risking it for the scythe, I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, and then there was the shield. So that's 4 items that I cared about, and I had 5 that I don't care about at all. So it's essentially a 50-50 chance of getting a scythe, which is incredible for this character because my character crits all the time, and the scythe boosts 8 healing per crit chance, and it also gives you more crit chance in general. Which I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care about crit chance with Bandit, but nonetheless, it's just an added bonus for fun. Now, when considering the current state of the game, See that trio up there? If I only ever see like one trio on the map, I'll just buy it. It's not that deep. However, if I happen to see 2, 3, or sometimes even 4, or if I see a drone trio purchaser thingy, I will wait. And I will not purchase anything from any of them until I have explored the entire map and made sure that there is no equipment available. Because if there is ever an equipment available, it could drop the credit card like it did this time. And so because there's the chance that I could get the credit card, the benefit of buying the individual item from those trios each time really isn't worth it to me when compared to the oh no, Natty! So you can see in the later game, what is my character lacking right now that is crucial that this character naturally doesn't have? Well, I'm sure you guys have noticed it's movement speed. Like, they just repeatedly are catching up to me and hitting me, even though I'm endlessly sprinting away from them. They're still catching up to me and damaging me, right? And so that is where you always need to try to focus your build based upon your current character's weaknesses. And it's definitely movement speed for Bandit. Because they're so squishy, you have to rely upon your movement to keep you from getting hit. In the early game, it doesn't really matter because you can just tank the hits and stuff. But in the late game, their hits do so much damage that you'll get one-shot if you don't have your one-shot protection up, which on Eclipse 8 you pretty much never do. And so you really need to make sure that you stay on top of movement speed so that you can identify, see the one-shot abilities that are super high damage hits and avoid them at all costs. And that was my biggest problem when I first got back into the game, is ignoring the one-shot ability. I'm dead. Whew! And so another thing that hopefully you guys have recognized is during the teleporter events, it doesn't matter. Being in the teleporter zone is completely fake news. It really, really doesn't matter at all. All that matters is that you stay alive. And so you can see with this build, I have gone full damage. I have been an absolute monster when it comes to being able to kill enemies. But unfortunately, I have no healing and no movement speed. And am a very squishy person. And then because I have no movement speed, I'm not able to utilize my character's strengths, which is that fun little what's it called? Getting behind enemies and getting the extra crit damage, and using my shift ability, which does damage in a radius around my character, and my serrated dagger, which causes hemorrhage, which helps my critical strikes do so much more damage. But I can't do any of that because I don't have any movement speed, so I can't run and strafe and run in, pop my short range abilities, and then run out. So I'm stuck using this like really, really bad shotgun that doesn't really have a good long range effect. And you can see the amount of enemies is getting a wee bit out of control. Now, something I just remembered is that my healing is coming from my sides. I forgot that I got those. So it is... Nope! Ooh! And see, so like that Solace ability is absolutely the one shot that will kill me. And so at all costs, the second I see that yellow ring pop up, nothing else matters, and I'm stopping everything to get out of that circle immediately. Because I will die immediately if that thing hits. And you can see I am way, way behind on tempo. And part of the reason for that is because I haven't gotten any freaking movement speed. So I haven't been able to traverse around the map. Allie, welcome in. I'm currently recording a YouTube video explaining how to get good and beat E8. And I'm struggling! Oh, man.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So you are able to identify and recognize all of these flaws in these runs based on what I'm telling you, right? You're able to see it in real time how what I'm saying applies in game. And hopefully you agree with me that it is fairly accurate. And at least for me, every run, in my opinion, is winnable. Every single run is winnable, in my opinion. If you just get good. The only thing that really, to me, is a run killer is not getting any movement speed will make the run really, really difficult, even if you do a bunch of damage. Unless you're a naturally quick character. Or only getting like healing and debuff preventer items and not getting any damage items, because then you just can't keep up. So there's a trio. I want to keep exploring the map before I buy anything from it to see if I can get a credit card before I buy that, because that would be that's a 3 item versus 1 item difference, right? That's huge for my character's skill and power. Now, it's important to also learn what each what each mob does. So here we have a drone and another drone, and I think I saw 2 gunner turrets earlier. There's another trio. So in my head, I'm also thinking to myself, if I have the option to get a lieutenant drone boy or some other green item, because I already know that there's 2 drones here and it's early on, stage 1, I'm probably gonna get a decent amount of drones this run. So I am hopeful that I can find a lieutenant drone boy, and that is going to be a priority, not even based upon the current items that I have, but based upon the scouting of the map and what items I will eventually have, or what drones I will eventually have. So here my ignite effect now does quadruple damage, so if I ever see a gasoline tank, that's going to be so much more of a priority for me to get than anything else. To where even if, let's say, there's a green item that honestly isn't really that good for me. So let's say I kill Goldilocks, and out of the 5 options, there's, you know, the war horn. Activating your equipment gives you extra attack speed. For certain characters, this is phenomenal. For Bandit, in my opinion, effectively useless. And so if I had the choice between getting an uncommon green item, which naturally in your brain, you're like, ooh, shiny, or a common gasoline tank, at least as of right now, it makes so much more sense to grab the common. And I mean, you could make the argument, well, get the green and you can scrap it later and potentially get some shit like that or something along those lines. And sure, you know, everyone has their own way that they prefer to play. And in my opinion, it's all about playing to your strengths. And so me, I fully am aware of my greediness. And so all the time I will get items that lean into that, such as the roll of pennies, where if you take damage, you get more gold. And I'll like purposefully take a bunch of damage and go so low on health and suffer. And in stage 1 and 2, I'll barely get by at the end of the stage with like 2 pieces of health and my max health lowered to nothing. Because it's going to pay off in the long run. Whereas because I'm aware of my greediness, in stage 4 or 5, am I going to do that same thing? Naturally, my brain is going to want to. And I'm going to instinctively be like, yes, yes, take damage on purpose. Take damage on purpose. Give me more gold. But in reality, at that point in the game, it's really not worth it. And so I'm going to be a little bit mindful of that and do my best to avoid that. Something else that I have a problem with is the star. Anytime I get the star, I get so excited and I'm like, oh, perfect. I get a free extra item out of a large chest. And then you can get, you know, maybe 2 red items from 1 chest, which is crazy good. Or, you know, even just a second green item is so much better than a second common. But I am fully aware that I forget about the star. At least 70% of the time when I have the star, I waste it and don't save it for a large chest. And so that's something you need to consider as well, is if I have an item that meta-wise, it makes sense to use it or do something this way, or for this character's build, X item is better than Y item, but for you and how you play the game, even though it's off the technical meta for that character, if it's better for you and your playstyle, then ultimately it's going to be better. And so a lot of the time, I will make a conscious choice to do something that is ultimately suboptimal, but for me is optimal. Kanga, welcome in. I'm a star. Thank you. Thank you. I am a star. I appreciate that. Now, you can see that I see that trio up there. It has a crowbar. That's really good for my character. But again, I'm being greedy and just praying to the heavens that I find a doodad. Now, we're at 6 minutes. I've explored a decent bit of the map. There's not really that many chests left. And I'm confident that I can earn enough money from starting the boss and running over here and doing Goldilocks that by the time all of this is over with, the teleporter event will be over and I'll have a bunch of money and a bunch of XP and I can go and just buy all the chests without having to try to kill enemies and get more gold. And you can see, because I'm making so much money, this Goldilocks event here, for the most part, I'm continuously dropping in cash to it. Whereas if I were to get the total amount of cash required to, you know, turn in Goldilocks, like let's just say I walked up here with 500 coins. The tempo of the game would be slower than if I had earned those 500 coins and dropped them in here right away. Because it's not an instant, you know, deposit 500. It's the ding, 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 and it takes time. So another way that you can increase your tempo is by small little things like this, or activating the teleporter and doing Goldilocks at the same time. Or when you're in the teleporter, making sure that you stay in the zone, at least in the earlier rounds, when if you just play well, you can absolutely pull it off. You can also see how while I'm over here, I'm out of money and there's not really any enemies there for the most part. So now it makes more sense to run back over here and hang out and charge this for a little bit while I make more money. So that so
No, 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 no. Wait.
So that when you end up getting to I completely lost my train of thought. That's so funny. Guys, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Are there any other Eclipse 8 strategies that you can think of that would be beneficial to people trying to get into it? Or is there anything that I said that you strongly disagree with? That you're like, he's completely wrong. Yo, Noxide the One, first time chatter.
It's cold.
We're currently recording a YouTube video on how to play on the Eclipse 8 level for the game. Oh, yeah. So something I forgot to talk about earlier is the enemies. So notice how with the little golem people. Yo, Linktree, 18 drones right now with spare drone parts. Love that. Is spare drone parts the Colonel Drone Man? Or is that's not Lieutenant Drone Boy, is it? So in this instance, I will sit around and wait for enough money to get the princess, because the princess will ultimately give me more money and more healing than if I were to come back for it later. So the princess drone is one exception to me waiting around and not exploring the map. Noxide, how are we today? Are you a Risk of Rainer, or are you just browsing? How many hours do you have? Do you like the game? Are you just getting into it? If you just want to lurk, no worries. Feel free to lurk, but I would love to hear from you. Oh yeah, Colonel Drone Man. Love that, Linktree. Love that. So with the princess drone, let's talk about more niche ways that you can kind of finesse the game. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so you know what you're talking about. Hell yeah. With the cleanup drone, and a lot of this is speculation. I don't actually know if any of this is true or not. Dasher, good morning, or I guess evening for you. Welcome in. I will have to check it out after this YouTube video that I'm filming. Now, when it comes to the finesse, so with the golems, right, that little red laser that they shoot at you, you can look at their eye, and when it's fully shrinked, their little red circle there, that's when they're going to fire. You can also hear it through a little bit of an audio cue. And so it's important, if you're playing a character like Bandit, to maybe pop your stealth ability at a little bit of a later time when you can actually see that they're about to shoot, rather than right as you see the laser and then your stealth ability runs out right as he shoots and then he hits you. So there is a large chest here, similar to what I've been talking about with, hey, maybe I'll get the credit card. I'm not gonna buy anything from a trio until I've seen if I can find an equipment or not. I like to wait to open large chests until I've beaten the boss, or maybe done all of these shrines of chance to see if maybe I get lucky and find a star. And then I'll come back to the large chest, because using a star on a large chest when compared to common can be such a game changer, because those large chests have a higher chance of dropping red items, which can absolutely just change your game. Now you can see that I've died several times, right? But hopefully you're able to recognize that each round we've been able to identify, at least in my opinion, the cause of my death. And that is another thing that you have to continually do as you're playing the game, is not just play mindlessly, but give it a little bit of analyzing at the end of the round, or even throughout the round, of, dang, why do I keep losing so much health? Or why do I keep dying? What was the struggle this round? What items did I have? I'm using the revolver that resets my skill abilities. Yeah, I don't like the other one. The other one grosses me out. Let's see here. Cha-cha-cha. Oh, and then, like, right, something else. Seems like common sense, but Bandit gets automatic crits from behind. Just make sure that you're, like, subconsciously applying that to your gameplay as that character, to where you're just instinctually. True, true. Noxide, I completely agree with you. But something I was talking about earlier is playing off meta specifically for your strengths as a player. So I know for me, I'm never going to be able to get it up to 30. And I really have no problem with killing bosses. So I'm not even going to... I don't need the one shot of the boss. What I need is resetting my stealth ability all the time so that I can just be a little goose and fly around. That's what matters so much more to me. And so I think maybe in the right hands, the other one, Desperado, would be much better. But at least in my hands, this one is much better. Now, I could kill the boss. I very well could. But I don't want to. Because in my experience, once you kill the boss, the spawn rate of enemies drops dramatically. So I like to keep the boss alive. Once again, more XP, more money. That money turns into more XP. Your character stacks better, gets stronger, faster, sooner, harder. What's that Daft Punk song or whatever? Work it. Work it smarter, harder, faster, stronger. You know, when in doubt, Daft Punk it out. Is that even the artist that sings that? Who knows? And so then another thing too is actually synergizing your character's ability. So if I was really sweating right now, every time I popped my revolver, I would press shift immediately and then pop my revolver again. And it would allow for me to oh wow. Yeah, oh my gosh, predict chest spawn points? Yeah, that ain't me, baby. Absolutely not. So I mean, you guys can see I have 2 items, 400 bucks, and we're 8 minutes in. I don't have anything. So I could leave right now, but then all of this money, all of this time that I've taken to rack up my cash is wasted. And then the tempo isn't going to be worth it. It's always worth it to try to end the stage with as little money as possible. And I didn't get a star, unfortunately, so we're going to go open this chest without one. How sad. And yeah, I really didn't find anything as I was running around murdering kids. So we're going to do another loop, even if it slows me down and lowers my time. Because I know that for me and my skill level with Bandit, as long as I am going through around 10 minutes for each stage, I can make it work. And yeah, the band is so good for Bandit. Hashtag a bandy boy. Notice how I'm not even playing that well, right? I'm not using my shift ability the second it comes back. I could have explored the map in a much more efficient manner. As soon as you see the teleporter, you want to try to explore the map in a way to where you cover everything and then end up at the teleporter, or make a pit stop by it just to see the vibe. But you want to minimize the time that you're seeing a chest, ignoring it, running across the map, defeating something, and then running all the way across the map back. If you can, you want to synergize everything so that it's as seamless and quick as possible. If you look at this, Noxide is saying that he gets his stages down to 5 or 6 minutes. See, that's incredibly impressive. That ain't me. That's never going to be me. I'm absolutely a 10-minute guy. Like, even though I'm playing on Eclipse 8 or whatever, I'm an incredibly casual player. I don't know anything. And so, you know, we got a band, we got a shield, we got another drone, and it's costed me 2 minutes. Yeah, wow. I mean, but how do you get the money for that, Noxide? Yeah, I can explore the whole map in 3 to 4 minutes, but then I have to go back once I've actually earned the money. How do you get enough enemies to spawn fast enough? I mean, obviously you prioritize roll of pennies or the thing that drops treasures or the cleanup drone or, you know, if you get the roll of pennies, you sit behind a fire elite and just soak up damage that way. Yeah. But, like, that is entirely item dependent, right? How are you consistently making this happen in 3 to 4 minutes? I like to always go to the newt just to see what the vibe is. And even if I don't get anything, I just like seeing him. You know, he's a nice little guy. I love the hard light activator. I would trade any amount of green items for this. No matter what my green items were, I would have turned them in. Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I don't have enough. Oh, that was kind of dramatic, dude. That was sick. Now, another thing to consider is going to be... Things were quick. Okay, so we saw an equipment drone. So if we ever see a equipment option, like maybe it's a trio of equipments, I'm gonna make sure that I pick the equipment that's best for the equipment drone. Nope, absolutely not. I'm not dealing with that. I'm dead. Ugh. I mean, you guys can see, right? I'm not a good player. I just kind of know a couple things. And all of this is from personal experience. I haven't really watched any guides or tutorials. I just love messing around and seeing what the vibe is. All right, and so I could get the like, let's say the GUI equipment that makes your spawn another version of your character. I love that equipment, but because there's an equipment drone, if I have the choice between that and something else, I'm gonna pick the other thing so that I can put it in the equipment drone. Because the GUI thing, if you put it in the drone, just spawns another equipment drone and is effectively useless. It's so nice to find another equipment drone when I still don't have an equipment. That's awesome. I used to hate the watch and avoid it at all costs, but the watch is, like, so good. You just gotta play well. High risk, high reward, baby. If you ain't greedy, you're not doing it right. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely, Noxide. Absolutely. You can definitely play the game to where you're not getting hit. Me personally, there's just a level of mental effort that I don't care to put into video games. Like I said, casual. Where it's like, sure, I could not get hit for all of stages 1, 2, and 3. But I'm not trying to work that hard, dog. Like, you know, just ask my ex-wife, right? I'm really lazy. All right, let's see here. I could get healing because I don't really have any, or I could be greedy. And see, there definitely should have gotten the mushroom, the fungus bungus humongous. But personally, if I'm being completely honest, I don't really play for the win con. I play for the fun con. And to me, it's fun to see how greedy I can be and how much I can get away with. And so I'm probably going to regret that decision later, and I'm going to be screaming, going, "Ah!" But at least I'm going to make a lot of money. Uh-oh. So at this point, you know, I've cleared out most of the map. Still no equipments, which is so sad. Now, the Shrine of Chance does have a chance to spawn equipments. So we'll go ahead and spend our money on this bad boy. Nice. Gain massive armor for 5 seconds. Completely useless to throw in an equipment drone. However, I have Lieutenant Drone Boy, so by getting an equipment drone, it'll not only provide a nice distraction, it'll also be incredibly strong and tanky for me, and it'll drop dynamite occasionally. Now you can see I've really been struggling with movement speed, and if you look at my common items right now, they're not really that good, in my opinion. My common items are kind of trash. I would much rather trade all of them in and get more movement speed, not only to help my tempo, but also to help my survivability and ability to actually dodge attacks. Ooh. I'm so glad we got this conch before fighting the boss. That's going to be awesome. Yeah, I'll go for more survivability. And like I said, right, with Bandit, typically your damage is high enough, stage 1, 2, and 3, where you can be, a little greedy. Oh, nice. Alright, I honestly have no idea where the teleporter is. I feel like I've looked everywhere. Oh, it's up there. So, I mean, we're at 18 minutes. It'll probably take me around 2 minutes for the teleporter. I've already ran around the whole map. I've checked everything. The only thing that I haven't been able to get was that equipment drone over by the... Oh, I don't play with lunars, Noxide. I don't like lunars. They break the game too much, in my opinion. Okay, wow, we finally have good movement speed. And now, even though movement speed doesn't increase your damage, because I'm playing Bandit, it actually does, in my opinion. Because now I can run in, pop my shift ability, which does area of effect damage. I can run around the bosses, stay close range, use my serrated dagger to cause hemorrhaging. I can use my shift to dodge. And I wouldn't be able to be doing any of this if I didn't have the movement speed. I'm being greedy. Oh, that's funny. Nice. Dude, I have 2 beetle guards. I don't think I've ever had 2 beetle guards before. That's cool. Oh god, I missed. Whoop! A flaw of mine is I have so much fun activating my revolver before I even have any sort of enemy in my sights. Because it's just so satisfying to pop it, aim, and land the shot right as you activate it. Or right as it actually pops off. The rat's my arch nemesis. As you can see, it makes me waste that ability a lot. But the dopamine is worth it to me. Oh, I don't want to talk about that one. What is a celestial portal? A 3rd equipment drone? Shut up. Shut up. Ooh, I love the boomerang, but my green items are too good right now. I really like my green items. Yeah, I should have spent all my money on rebuying the healing drone and whatnot. But, you know, I'm just not really playing well because I'm busy talking with you guys. Now, YouTube, that's really it. That's where I'm going to call it. So that's how to play Eclipse 8 in general with, you know, incredible gameplay of me beating it. So thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, Discord, Instagram. And I hope to see you around when I'm live. If you're still here, I love you guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.